So for mission 2 of my colonisation project, I've decided to go to the Julian moon of Laythe. Yes, Laythe is probably my favourite body within the Kerbal system, for a number of reasons. Obviously it has liquid water on its surface, it has an atmosphere that's really very similar to Kerbin's, although in this latest version of SVE and Texture Replacer you can't actually take the helmet off when you're there. And it's just a very, very cool world with tiny little desert islands with lots of oceans and ice caps that, like I say, aren't too dissimilar to Kerbin. However, it has been a very, very long time since I've actually played Kerbal Space Program, or at least gone long distance in Kerbal Space Program for that matter. So this is my first trip out to Jool after the new telecommunications and probe mechanics have come into play. So what you're watching here is not my first attempt at trying to get to Jool. This is probably my 5th or 6th, because I completely forgot now that you now need an antenna on a probe in order to make sure that you can control it through the duration of its journey. On the first attempt, I didn't put one at all, because of course this habitat here is very, very simple. It's basically a habitat module, some power, a heat shield, and a probe body to whack everything together and make sure it's controllable. There's no actual Kerbal control here, and that meant, sadly, on my previous attempts, I lost control of the probe. I then tried putting another antenna on it, and that obviously didn't have enough range on it, and so we just sort of skipped off into space, as you would do, because obviously I had no control over it, before finally, after much trial and error, I came up with this ridiculous looking design with a high gain antenna on the top of the probe body where the parachute used to be, with 2 smaller drogue chutes put radially, along with the 2 main radial chutes as it is. And even this was just barely enough to actually get to Jool itself, because I'm useless with this sort of thing. I didn't think, of course, to put a probe relay in advance, which I probably should have done, to be honest. Well, technically, President Grump should have done it, but well, let's stay out of that, shall we? Mind you, even if I had set up a relay network, it's extra dangerous when you're actually going for Jool, or any body in, be it the actual Kerbal system or any systems you have with mods. It's difficult when you have a planet with lots and lots of moons going round and round and round, because, well, sometimes the moons will kind of line up and they'll block the signal, and that can happen at the most crucial of moments, as this happened on, not this attempt particularly, but one of my previous attempts at trying to get an encounter with Laythe. Just when I was coming up on my adjustment maneuver node, Jool and Val, I think, blocked the signal for just long enough that I couldn't actually perform it, at least not as efficiently as I could anyway. Which sucks, but oh well. It's something we've got to live with, and I think for the next episode I should have some kind of communications relay in place, and hey, maybe I'll even make a video of that so we can continue on into the future. But as you can see here, we are coming up on Laythe now. We're in Jool's sphere of influence. We are going to burn to make sure that we skim through Laythe's atmosphere at colossal amounts of speed. And this is where things start going wrong, because of course this is one of my missions, and of course things can't ever go smoothly. So here we go, we're going to come up on Jool, which, can I say, looks absolutely beautiful with the stock visual enhancements mod on. And as you can see, if the colours are looking a little bit different, as you can see, that is because I've started doing some basic colour grading to my videos. You may have seen it in my War Thunder video last week. I've started to colour grade a little bit, just so it sort of looks, I don't know, a bit better. I honestly think with this colour grading that I've done here, this visual filter, I think it does look one hell of a lot better than it would have done normally, this footage. Because even with stock visual enhancements, occasionally KSP can look just a little bit cartoony. But here we can see we've ditched our transfer stage now. We are completely unguided now. We are just, there's no going back. We're going straight through Laythe's atmosphere like a bullet. We're going to fold away our solar panels and line ourselves up for re-entry. Now, can any of you spot my mistake? Bearing in mind the speed we're about to descend into the atmosphere here, and the size of the antenna relative to the body of the actual thing here. Yeah. So as it turns out, the highest of the high gain antennas was actually too large to fit within the shielding of the heat shield here, and it exploded as a result. It melted away. Which meant we were completely unguided. We completely lost signal with the KSC, which is a bummer. I honestly thought that the mission was lost at this point. However, I realised by some miracle that you can still arm and deploy parachutes, even when you've got no signal on a probe core. Which means, thankfully, we can have a slow, controlled landing into the oceans of Laythe, as planned. Which, beautiful. It's a miracle. It's honestly a miracle. Unfortunately, it does mean that these guys, whoever I've slapped in here, a couple of scientists and a couple of engineers, does mean, unfortunately, that they're going to have to... they're going to have to fend for themselves, at least for the time being. So, yeah, they're just going to have a bit of a look around. And I want to thank you guys while they're looking around. I want to thank you guys very much for watching. Do stay tuned. KSP News, it will be back very, very soon, so long as I have some news to report on that isn't really, really mind-numbingly boring. We'll be back, don't worry. As will Juna Horizon, which is also still in production. I haven't had much time to do that. But yeah, guys, thanks very, very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Brada signing off, and as always, peace out!